Hey, good morning, everybody. I have 9 here on mine, so we'll go ahead and get started in the interest of preserving everybody's time. Thank you for being with us here for our monthly STARS meeting. I do have a Trish Casey here in the office with me, and then I believe the rest of our team is here as well. I do see a couple new faces here, so as well. So welcome to Mr. Tomko. I know we've exchanged some emails. So thank you for being here. Mr. Nick Hill, it's been a long time. Amanda, I assume that's Amanda Boyer. Mr. Stanford, I believe it's been a long time as well. So a bit of a small group here this morning, so please feel free to chime in directly as we go through with questions. I do have to say, like, time-wise, I'm about ready for NASCAR because I'm getting better and faster at this. So please, somebody interrupt me with some questions. All right. And so one thing I wanted to talk about this morning, as you could kind of see on the agenda, something we've been working on as we try to spread more and more information. We were lucky enough to pick up Morella at the end of last year, and she does a great job on all our data. And we're reaching the point where we want to share some of that information out with our other partners and players in this realm. And one of the ways we are going to work on that is coming up with some regional reports to bring to those regional EMS meetings. So this was just an example of one we're going to try out this month. But this is still, a rough draft of work in progress. So if you guys can think of anything, information specific to your regions that you want to know, as you can see, we are going to bring Trey to them, but I could see different regions also being interested in different things. And I think this especially will lend itself as we kind of get more and more interest from the disaster management crowd of, what high risk kids do we have, who is electrically dependent, who's on ventilators and who needs feeding pumps hooked up all the time. And I think that that's something as we sort of start to work ourselves more into that realm could be of use. But as I said, this is a work in progress. So if you see something on and you're like, it would really might help the region or make them want to know some more things, this is a project that we are working on. Another thing that had kind of come up over the last couple of weeks, just as many of you are here already know, we do a contract, a BAA contract with our agencies that we work with. It's a viewer contract for EMS and for other emergency departments. And I can't emphasize enough that this is a bit of a flexible process. We are willing to work with different agencies when they come to us, and it really helps us actually if agencies say, like, hey, we need this changed, because then we turn around and go to legal. For better or worse, this program is very much an icebreaker. There's not many like it around the country. And we're trying to solve lots of problems, and we sit between the world of EMS and we sit between the world of hospitals and hospital risk groups. And so we always have to kind of find the right, the right contract and the right level to make all those groups work together. So I just, long story short, please don't feel like you have to sit over there and say, oh, well, STARS is doing this terrible thing to us and this will never work for us. Like, let's have that conversation. And quite honestly, those conversations are of how we have made changes here on our side. So please just come to us if there's something that isn't working for your agency. We do have some kudos to give out for the month of May. And so I'm going to talk more about this briefly, but Kim's did an amazing stoma save that you not only get to hear about today, but if you want to come back for our call review later in June, you can hear even more about it. St. Charles County did a great job on one of our kiddos following the STARS plan, and then once again, direct to tertiary, they were able to bring him all the way to his destination facility, which is really turning out to be a big deal and really helps those kids and those families out whenever we can make that possible. And so just another good story of that. And then Perry County Memorial Hospital EMS hosted a PR event. I don't know, that's words we haven't heard in like about a year, but they got a bunch of people in house, and including some of their kids came up, and they were able to meet with Trish and kind of have a gathering. So always that hope that we're moving more and more back towards that normalcy. So. I did want to talk a little bit more about that Kim StomaSave call. First of all, like this, the medic did an amazing job of documenting this. I think I could almost take his template and ask everyone else to follow this till the end of time. But the only thing that kept him from an A+ was that he didn't take a blood pressure, and you know, I've been there. Oh, it's a 2-year-old. Their heart rate's more reliable. Don't hear that, Doc Laffey. Anyways, um, so, but you can see they were called for a dislodged G tube. And the story why mom called, this mom, she hasn't had to deal with many G tube changes before. You know, we talk a lot about our trach families, and it's very much a regular routine for them. But sometimes with the kids with the gastric tubes, if they don't have many issues, the family does not do that change that often, and they might not be nearly as comfortable with it as a trach family would be doing changing a trach. And you can see mom just said it made her really uncomfortable doing the change. She called EMS. They documented that they inspected the site. It looked clean. They didn't see any trauma. They also documented that they inspected the G tube. They did test it before they reintroduced it. They talked about they washed it off and irrigated it to make sure it was clean, or as clean as possible in this condition. And then they were able to reinsert the G tube, reinflate the bulb with the designated amount of sterile water, and then mother confirmed placement by flushing the G tube. They then went on to mention that all that information and instruction was available to them in the STARS form, and then they called and got a refusal from their medical control. So I think a lot of high points, and I like the fact that they referenced the STARS form, not just because, you know, not to toot our own horn, but I think that that's what we're here for. We are a collaboration of providing that information and those instructions and directions to EMS providers out there in the field doing the hard work. And to give them that leg to stand on, to make them feel comfortable with what they're doing, and throw it back on us. That's the whole point of what's being created and done here. And so I thought that was a super well written trip sheet, and I appreciate they did a great job taking care of her. I tried to go back into this kiddo's chart just to present you like a note from, you know, hospital side, like, oh, mom reports EMS called. None of that even happened. There was like no contact with mom for like another week and a half afterwards. Like this just took care of the problem, and the kiddo was able to stay there at home, and that's such a big deal for our families.
Hey, Nick, can I add a comment there, Nick? Or maybe just reinforce your comment.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would liberally recommend that you reference that any information that you get from the STARS form to document that. I think is a really, really, really good idea. No matter what it is. I saw this on the STARS form, so I did that. You know, even if it's more routine type of things, it's just a great way to I don't want to use the word cover your ass, but in you know what I mean, to protect yourself or just to it's just a great way to say, look, I was paying attention to this, and this form has been accepted by my medical director. It's been accepted by, you know, East Central Region, whatever. It's an accepted form. It's an accepted way of guiding your management. So anytime you get any information off of it, even if it doesn't seem very important, I would strongly recommend that you say that you looked at it. It's great documentation.
Yeah, and even just to piggyback off that, I know at least the last few trip sheet writing programs that I used out in the field, like we always had to justify. I mean, you know, 90% of the time it was I did this by protocol.
Right.
Yeah, this is just your way of saying how did you know you could do this? This is how you knew you could do this. So,
right.
Cool. Perfect. I did have one room for improvement that came out of last month. And it's not a new one. It's kind of an oldie. But please, EMS, you know, bring the trach bag. There's a reason why we take the time to write that into the forms. And this one is a bit of a trap, and I can see how a crew could fall into it. But they showed up to a very competent home health nurse. But on the scene, the home health nurse felt like it was her responsibility to keep all the stuff, insisted on keeping the stuff, and then drove separately from the ambulance. And that just really creates an at-risk situation where that kid is separated from the emergency equipment that they need should something go wrong in a minute. I mean, it would be a nightmare to try and coordinate with another car traveling down the highway with if that kid plugged off or suddenly decompensated. So just that reiteration of that basic practice that we want of like EMS, if you're transporting the kid with a trach, all of their equipment needs to be with you. Fortunately, nothing happened in this case, but definitely, you know, an at-risk situation that could have been avoided.
And another time we're using, you know, referencing STARS to say, look, it's our policy, you know, per the STARS program, it's a policy for us to carry it. You can kind of, again, put that responsibility on the program so it doesn't come into an argument between just two folks.
100% agree on that. Cool. So some of our numbers from last month, we did have a decent number of transports, as you can see there. Like I said, that one was in there. Whoops, sorry. Just like I said, continuing to see more and more. We have a few happen with agencies that are still working their way into getting comfortable with STARS. And so one thing we wanted to reiterate is that the messages do come to the phones, especially for those working underneath Central County. We had a little confusion from two crews who thought it was still going to be coming to their CAD system. I'm certainly willing to, you know, whatever continuing public information message we need to do to correct that, so that people know, oh, I'm on a STARS call, it's going to come to this phone somewhere affiliated or associated with me. And so just the way we can continue to drive home that model that the CAD is no longer the reliable place to get that information. And then of course the non-transport that we already talked about. As far as kids, as you all know, it just continues to grow each and every month. So added even some more kiddos. And then we're getting, I would say, an improvement in our approval rates. We just had a few that were still sitting in pending. And I believe most of those, maybe 3 of those are still pending, but the rest were cleared out as we got into June. Did have a slight drop in our daily logins by user. I don't know that this stat tells us a whole lot. I kind of keep a track of it, just an idea of overall volume of people logging into STARS. But as we push, we have a lot of new agencies coming on, but the new agencies that are coming on, for the most part, are just doing generic truck accounts. They aren't putting individual users in anymore. And so I kind of expect over time, volume per number of users in the system to sort of drop. So I don't know that this tells us anything huge, just something we keep our eyes on and to show that people are using it. Speaking of which, our attendance awards. So thanks to the people who logged in 31 days out of May, which is pretty solid. And then we really, like I said, a lot of other people getting in and spending significant time in. I have to continue to give the shout out to Collinsville, who always has their crews log in as well as their dispatch agency, and they're always pretty much ready to go. So. All right, our dispatches for the month, our numbers, I think we're about commensurate with April. We had a total of, I'm trying to do math really quick in front of a bunch of smart people, so 8 for the month of May. And then we actually had back to an uptick in the number of emergency activations, which are people just tapping that emergency access as they get into the form. And actually a significant number of those were actual emergencies for groups who their dispatch agency does not send them the plan, but they still notified and let us know that they were running on one of our kiddos. All right, for our updates, this is rolling out tomorrow. The user verification piece, which we've talked about for a couple meetings. The big thing for you to know and just to keep track of, this will not apply to any of your current users tomorrow. This is only any new user added to the system starting tomorrow. It will look very much like any other program. I don't know about you guys. I've had the great misfortune of having to download like 10 apps in the last 2 weeks. And as far as I can tell, the entire world is doing this, right? Like if you put in a phone number, they send you the code. It says, please enter your code. If you put in a new email, they send you the code. It says, please enter this code. And those are currently, that is good for a year after you verify yourself within STARS. So it's just a way we really want to make sure that we are getting accurate phone numbers. There's no typos, and same thing with the email addresses. And there will be a new set of how-to videos that rolls out with that tomorrow night, whenever that comes out, just so for those of you who do enter users in the system, it'll kind of just a walkthrough on how to do it and what to expect. Training opportunities, we do always have I'm sorry, did you have some, Doc?
Nope, sorry.
No, no worries. So we do continue to have some online courses up. I know Children's also has some online videos in addition to their EMS podcast, which I think might have some STARS stuff in it or coming up in it. And then Gina and I are going to sit down and do a STARS call review on June 24th, kind of like we did a couple months ago, where we just pick out some of these calls that are happening, talk through the good, talk through the bad, and just kind of that group learning. You know, let's all learn from each other on these rare calls that we don't run that many times in our career. Classroom, there's a couple of classrooms with both Children's and Glennon coming up. There's also a bit of room here in the summer. So if you're trying to look for some dates or trying to get some people in, please let us know and we will get some education out to you guys. And then also, I don't know how much everyone in this group is aware, but there is a new EMS conference that will be here in St. Louis in the fall. And we are lucky enough to be part of the pre-conference for that event. And then I believe Trish will also be giving a couple lectures on the actual day of the event. So look more to that. Part of what we are going to aim for in our subject matter that we're providing is a bit of train the trainer, really, like trying to bring in our subject matter experts from the hospital here, like not even being Trish, like we're going to go to the people who teach us. They'll be there providing 30, 45-minute lectures, doing hands-on. And we really, especially for like training officers at your entities or your STARS coordinators who want to pick this up, but the idea of like, okay, let me learn everything I need to know so that I can take that back to my agency and help train there. And so that's very much a model. Don't get me wrong, I love coming out to teach at all of your agencies, but there is only one of me and I can only drive so many miles in a year. And I really think to be more successful, like I want more people to know this than me, and I want more people to know it better than me. So if you have any freedom or your agency is willing to send you, if you'd consider coming out to our pre-conference, it'd be greatly appreciated. So
when is that one?
I believe that is September 9th and 10th.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. I was going to point out, sorry, I saw in Pam's comments over here, back to user verification. It will apply anytime you add a new user. It will also apply anytime you change existing details on a current user. All right. Cool. Any other questions or things that have come up for you guys in the last month? Anything that we can address?
I guess just personally. Sorry. I was just going to see how we were doing with the new patient that we had brought to you.
Yeah, so the big thing we need on that, we just need a HIPAA waiver from mom. So even,
Okay.
you know, even if you can give me a name or a phone number from that, Mercy told me about the kid, but they had already left so that they could not give me the information. So I feel like that kid needs to be in. We just got to get the important hurdle out of the way, and I can write that form up for him.
I will check the mail. She said she was going to mail it already, so I will check on that, and if not, I'll go get it today.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Miss Amanda.
Thank you.
Hey, Nick, it's Dean. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing all right, Dean. How about yourself?
Good. Hey, I noticed on there, I know I've had quite a few crew members logging in, but they're not showing up on the stats. So is that maybe something we look into?
So they are there. That is just the top of the list. But I can send you one where you can see that includes like individual days logged in. So even if they log in like 7 times in one day, that still only counts as one on that list.
Gotcha. Okay.
So yeah, but I'll get you the longer list so you can just kind of check and see how many and which of your people are logging in.
Yeah, because I'm trying to keep a better track of that and make sure they're logging into at least be familiar with the system.
Okay, cool. Probably also along those notes,
Thank you, sir.
I know it's been a minute. We should probably, if you have time, sometime within the next few weeks, we should sit down and make sure I accurately have kids assigned to your area. I wish I could say I understood all your jurisdictional lines over there, but I do not. So I just want to make sure I have accurate kids assigned to you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's confusing. And I've got a dad in Baldwin that is wanting his kid in the STARS program. So I'm gonna get with you later this week and get him set up.
Okay, very cool. Awesome. Thanks for being here today, Dean. Cool. All right. Did anybody else have anything? Cool. Well, thank you guys for all that you do. Please, any feedback, anything we can do for you, anything we can do to make your life easier. We are working on adding volume over here on our side. So awesome. Well, once again, in Under the Wire, I'm going to give myself a stellar award at this rate. You guys have a great day. Have a great summer, and we will talk to you in July, if not before.
Thanks, Nick.
Thanks, Nick. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.